GURL, a regular read of the latest LGBT plus trends, TV, and the ever-expanding world of drag. Hello there, I'm the Velvet Snatch, and we're here in Season 4 of GURL. As usual, I'm here with the delicious Jim Bunny Glenn. How are you doing, my dear?
Hello.
Oh,
Hi, hello.
you're straight
Hello.
in there, aren't you?
Hello.
You're excited
I
to
am.
be here.
Well, it's like the first proper interview since I missed the last 2 episodes and then was there for the last one that we've just done. But that was just us chatting.
Just talking shit, really, isn't it?
So, yeah. But now we're missing Stu. Like, this is worse than trying to get the Frock Destroyers in one room or at one gig.
Right. We are here with some very special guests. Now, some of you that may have been sleeping under a rock for a couple of months might not have known that we recently had the final of the MX Drag Great Britain 2023, Mr. Gay Great Britain 2023, and Mr. Gay Europe 2023 competitions at Alnwick Gardens. Now, we recorded some interviews on the day, but sadly we weren't able to use them. What we've got today is we've got all of the winners of those 3 events with us. We have the wonderful Monarchy.
Hello, everybody. You all right?
Now, you won MX Drag Great Britain. How does that feel?
Wow, Velvet. It feels absolutely amazing. It still hasn't really sunk in. And then the other day, somebody turned around to me and said, "You won MX Drag Great Britain." And I said, "You what?" And they said, "No, you won." And then I thought, "Oh, do you know what? Yes, I actually did win." And I'm just looking forward to what the future's going to bring now. But it did take a little while to sink in. But I think I'm finally there and starting to bask in all the glory.
And we're also joined by the wonderful Paul Carruthers, who won Mr. Gay Great Britain. How are you doing?
Hi, good. Just listening to Monarchy there, I'm exactly the same. It still feels really surreal when you're introducing us as winners. I'm like, who? What? Am I on the wrong call?
That's it. I mean, does it feel a bit weird just being like, oh, it's over now? Oh, I can stop worrying about this and that and the other.
Oh my God. I mean, the not worrying part is great because it was intense, but it kind of ended with a bang. It was like, right, that was it done. I was straight back to being a dad, back to work. I've started a new job. So it's a bit of a distant memory, but yeah, similar to Monarchy, I was out recently on the gay scene and I had a couple of people come up to me saying congratulations. And it was just really weird, but amazing. It's an amazing feeling, and all the support that I had it's been good. It's been a really good roller coaster.
Yeah,
I've got to say, Paul, it was the sweetest picture ever, seeing you with the trophy and the 2 kids around your mind. Like, I was like, oh,
I know. I think my little one Mason, when he ran out and gave me a hug, I think there was lots of people with tears in their eyes, and yeah, it was really special. I always said I was kind of doing it for them, and being a role model for them. So that was really special for me as well.
No, it was an absolutely beautiful moment, and I'd had my hand up in the air filming for like 3 hours, so I was sick of my life by that point. And I was like, oh, actually, it's still beautiful. And finally, we're joined by the wonderful Tim Küsters, who won Mr. Gay Europe 2023. What an amazing achievement that is! Like, how are you feeling, Tim?
Thank you, guys. I'm feeling amazing. It's been great. Busy weeks, but I'm loving every second of it.
I mean, this is nothing new to you, really, because like the competition was very different for you than it was for Monarchy and Paul, because you had to stay for a full week at Alnwick Castle and do loads of challenges through the week. You had to do a full week of a competition. Like, how did you get through that?
I still don't know. Actually, we were in a room with 4 other contestants, and we were all like a little bit complaining that it was too much pressure, but then we put the heads together and then we made it work. So all the different challenges, all the different tasks, and presenting, but it was a memory that I will never forget.
I mean, does it feel like it's over yet, or are you expecting to like wake up tomorrow and have to do some crazy Harry Potter themed challenge?
No. I have the feeling it's over, but I miss all the finalists because we are connected for life, I think.
Now, I want to talk about the differences in the competition between you all, because obviously I think the Mr. Gay Europe competition was very different to the Great Britain versions. But then even inside the Great Britain versions, you had to do different things. Because what were the challenges that you had to go through, Monarchy?
I think the biggest challenge for me was definitely fundraising and feel like I was doing enough for that, because as much as I was raising and as much as it was going to amazing causes, I was also very pushing myself constantly to raise more, and it didn't ever feel like enough. I'm also not a fashion girly, I wouldn't really call myself. I'm quite lucky that I've got some quite fashionable friends who consider themselves models, but really they just strut around the streets of Teesside, so you could call them prostitutes. Anyway, that's a different story. But that was another challenge for me. So I think the main challenge was my own head. It was more about feeling like I was doing enough, and I know that every penny raised makes a difference, but it was the constant of feeling, to do more. And once the competition is over, I think it doesn't stop at that. I think you still have to fulfill things and continue that type of work ethic to give back to other people and raise awareness for charities and other issues going on in the world. It was nice to revisit educating myself on gay history, which is something that I kind of lost touch with for a little while until I started doing the competition again. I kind of took a step back from being too political, because I think even though it is great to be political, and I'm a very political person, sometimes you can drive yourself mad if you're always thinking about politics. So it was nice to find a balance.
That's a really good thing to actually be able to do as an entertainer as well, be able to have different layers to yourself, have your political side, have your fashion side, have your entertainer, have your charitable, it is part of being an icon.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Nowadays, I think drag is very, and I'm going to say nowadays like I'm bloody 50-year-old, but from what I know of drag and the type of old school drag queens who I associate myself with, I think a lot of the new wave of drag is very political and almost sometimes too much, to the point where you cannot make people understand your opinion or stance because you're hitting them with the politics straight away. Whereas I think if you take a more gentle approach sometimes and make people who might not be part of the community realise that you're not an alien and you're not that much different to them, then they can get on board with you and support what you're doing, which is exactly what people did with me. When I announced that I was going to be doing the competition, I got in touch with Teesside Live. And Teesside as an area is not always the most accepting place, but it is very, very multicultural. It is very diverse, but it's kind of diverse under a cover, whereas people know it's there, but they choose not to see it. And I'm one of them who will force people to see it. And I always say, if people feel sick, be sick on them and let them know that you're never going to change. So that was a thing that I struggled with. And I think for people to see that in Teesside, that I was doing this competition, they actually took a step back and thought, oh God, there's a boy in a dress and he's doing this and it's not normal and I'm perverted and I'm twisted. And I got all these awful comments. But then I think once people realised, that the charities and the amazing things that I was doing as part of this competition, not only because, of course, I wanted to strut about and be a diva, but also, raise money and raise awareness for these incredible charities. I think people then realise that we can come together and be different, but also raise money and awareness for great causes. What the competition reminded me of, and I said this to Stuart on the phone the other day, was the film Pride, which focused on a little mining town in Wales during the 1980s when the AIDS epidemic was at its height. It was an epidemic, wasn't it? I hope I'm getting English language right. I try to be clever, but I'm actually quite thick, but I think I'm quite intelligent in my own way. And, the gays and lesbians support the miners. The gays and lesbians support the miners. But the miners originally, a lot of them didn't like the miners, and then there's a very emotional part at the end, and it's based on a true story where they come together at the end and they realise how big power and unity can be when two different communities unite.
That was a massive part of the competition, though, both the politics and the fundraising. So, because I'm going to talk to you in a bit, Paul, about the politics of it, because obviously that's quite a big thing for you and you've got a lot of experience in it. But Paul, I wanted to ask about with the fundraising. This is something I have to bring up with you because how much money did you raise as part of the competition?
Oh, look, it was phenomenal in the end, the support that I got. I think when you add gift aid on, it was maybe between £8,000 and £9,000 that I raised. So I think it was a big chunk of the total, and everyone did amazing. And as Monarchy said, every penny counts. But going into the competition, I thought, right, I'm going to play to my strengths. And, the way that the categories are broken down for those listeners that don't know, the most points is awarded to the charity and the exam. So I thought, right, okay, well, let's do what I know I can do. I've previously raised money for charities when I lost my mum to bowel cancer for bowel cancer research. So, yeah, I'm a cyclist and I thought, right, okay, well, what can I do? What can I do that's going to really challenge myself? And then I thought, I know. I'm going to hop on my bike and I'm going to cycle from London to Paris and set myself a goal of doing it within 24 hours. And I did it.
Amazing.
It's incredible.
How did you get across the water?
Okay, so that part, the watch is paused. I've had that happen to me a lot of times. So we cycled from London down to New Haven, got on a late night ferry. I think we had 4 hours on the ferry, very little sleep. I think, we docked into Dieppe and the coast of France at 4 a.m., cycled straight off the ferry and go. We knew time was against us all the time. We actually did it halfway through. We thought, right, sod this, 24 hours is so bloody bullshit and unrealistic. Let's just get there alive with all the crazy French drivers trying to run us off our bikes. But when we actually paused and got there, we did it, and it was something like 23 hours, 57 minutes and whatever seconds. So yeah, I know.
Talk about cutting it close.
Really proud. And I did it with friends as well. It wasn't all me. I had some amazing support, cycling along with me. So yeah, but that meant a lot to me. And then I did up in Newcastle, Bobby's Bar. I knew you were there, Velvet. I did a charity fundraiser with loads of amazing drag acts that gave up their time for free, and we raised lots of money that night. And then I also held a pub quiz, LGBT plus themed, in my local area with lots of local community that came along, which was amazing to see, neighbours that I never would have thought would have been there to support anything to do with Mr. Gay Great Britain, but, answering questions on, when did Section 28 come in and all that. So that was another fun night. So yeah, they were the main charity fundraisers that I did.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's incredible. I mean, I think on the footage I filmed of the day, you can hear me laughing because it kind of announces, because I knew that you'd raised 8 or 9 grand, and then they announced the total amount raised by all the contestants, and I'm like, okay, so Paul is over half of that, just you alone. It's the amount of the sheer effort that you've put in. I think it's great that the both of you, Monarchy and Paul, where you've both played to your strengths in terms of how you can help and how you can raise money. Because obviously, Monarchy, whatever you say, you are very well respected in the drag community, and you have a lot of people that you called upon to perform and to help, and you had charity nights, and you both sort of used your skills to actually raise money, and I think that's incredible. I mean, Tim, you in your competition, you didn't have the fundraising aspect, but is that something that you'd be prepared to do as part of a competition?
Yeah, of course. I think it's a really good thing that you can raise money for a good cause. So I think they should include, but I think the reason they didn't include it because in the Scandinavian countries, it's built quite differently. It's all from the government that gives to the organization, so it wasn't fair for them or something like that.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense, I think. But you had to do a whole different set of challenges though, because obviously I was there with you for the full week at Alnwick Castle, and wow, I was just there as an observer and I was getting tired, and yet you're the contestant out of everyone who never complained. You were just oh, it's a 10 p.m. finish, is it? Oh, right. And, and the stamina you had was incredible.
Oh, thank you so much. I tried my best.
Can we go into some of the things that you had to do that week? Because I'll talk later about the quiz, because all three of you had to do an actual, was it a quiz or was it a test? But it was basically about LGBT rights and history and basically knowing your stuff. Because I think the important thing to say for the listeners is that when you think of Mr. Gay Great Britain or like Mr. Gay Europe, you're thinking it's going to be a beauty pageant. You think that it's going to be, oh, who's the hottest guy, who looks best in swimwear kind of thing. And yet that aspect of it, the beauty aspect, is like, I think it's mainly thanks to Stuart Hatton Jr., the organizer of Mr. Gay Great Britain, that it's not just about that. It's about the politics. It's about the respect for history, and it's about how you can help the community. Does it feel good that you've won a competition that's judged on so many difficult levels?
Yeah, I think it's even more beautiful when you achieve a high place in this kind of competition. And really for Mr. Gay Europe, the theme this year was mental health within the LGBTQIA+ community. So that's a topic that is very crucial and very a good cause to build on it and build campaigns and get some experience throughout all the other countries and gain knowledge how we can enter this team and how can we improve, for example. So raising awareness, reducing stigma, foster empathy, and eventually promote resources for the LGBTQIA+ community.
I just want to know, Tim, what part of the week did you enjoy the most out of the challenges, and which challenge do you think you found the most difficult?
Ooh, that's a hard question. I think I really liked the most one that we got the chance to speak in front of the mayor of South Shields and present a speech about our country and what's the status on LGBTQIA+ rights within the country. So I think that one was challenging, but also very fun to do. What I find, at least, I think the whole week we had to make all these videos about all the different challenges, and it was actually the biggest challenge, I think, because after we finished at 10 or maybe 12 o'clock, then we still had to edit all the videos and make it beautiful. So I think that was the hardest.
Wow. No, that was terrifying, Glenn. Like the fact of, because the contestants were panicking because they'd done a full day, like a full sort of 8 a.m. to sort of 9 p.m. kind of day. And then they were still expected to edit loads of videos and post on their social medias and stuff. I think a lot of the competition for Mr. Gay Europe is surviving Mr. Gay Europe, like not the specific challenges. But that's it. But Tim, you were like a dark horse in the competition because it was the idea of you were never complaining, you were never sort of going, oh, I'm tired, or I don't, or I can't do this kind of thing. You just kind of sat there, you just took everything and smashed it, which is looking back, I'm like, I didn't give you enough credit back then.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, you just have to do it. So you can be just positive about it. If you start complaining the whole time, then it will get worse for yourself. So just be positive and you will get through the week.
I mean, Monarchy, Paul, if you had to... Well, actually, Paul, you're thinking about doing Mr. Gay Europe next year, I hear. Do you think you're... have you changed your opinion now?
No, look, I think I probably will do Europe. I think it's a great opportunity. But I remember arriving and actually I got to listen to all of the delegates do their speech actually at the town hall. And it was, Tim, everybody's was amazing. And obviously David, the last year's Mr. Gay Great Britain resonated with me quite a lot with it, with it talking about England. And I just was like totally in awe of each and every one of them. And they looked so tired when I arrived, and I just was like, what the hell? And me and some of the Mr. Gay Great Britain guys, we were all saying to each other, do we really want to win this and have to do that next year? No, it was really intense, and hats off to you, Tim, and all of you. And I certainly was there witnessing the sort of going off and doing the video editing at the end of long days, and I think they all did an absolutely amazing job. It was tough going, a bit of a boot camp, really.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I think it was also like a lesson in lowering standards a little bit, because I remember a couple of the contestants being like, I would usually do a better video than this, and I'd spend more time editing, but I don't have time, and so a lot of them were like unhappy with what they had the time to put out, but then they had to do it,
It all had to be very quickly edited and posted because we had the deadline on Friday, 7 p.m., I think. So it was really tight.
And how about you, Monarchy? Do you think if there was MX Drag Europe following the same rules that you would enter?
Yeah, I think it really did challenge me. I get quite anxious, which people don't expect from somebody like me. I do get a lot of anxiety, and I suffer with that quite a lot, in the sense of I'm always thinking, my mind is always whirring. I'm quite jittery. I'm quite uncertain at times. You know, I'm a bit of a gobshite, to be quite honest. I speak a lot of my mind, and you know, and then I worry about things and whatnot. So I think the competition really drained me, in the sense that I didn't really get any sleep at all the night before. Even the night before press day, I didn't really sleep the night before at all. And it was quite, being in drag, as Velvet, you will know, it can be quite physically draining as well, when you've got, you know, these costumes on, and you have to stay smiling, you have to stay waving, and you cannot let anybody see that pass, because you know, you want to play up to the crowd and portray the persona that you've created of yourself. But what I always say is that I'm still developing. I still don't know who I am 1,000%, and I think that is fine. I think there's such a pressure, especially in the gay world and in the drag world, to know who you are all the time. And we go through not knowing who we are as youths, and, you know, being told to be in boxes and being told to conform to, you know, heteronormative society. And then once we finally feel like we know ourselves, we then come into the gay world, the queer world, and then we are also then told to be put in boxes. And I think, you know, to then re-find yourself, and a journey of self-discovery is definitely a little mini journey that I went on during this competition. And you can also be a beacon for other people, and a pioneer for other people, and, you know, someone relatable. So I think I definitely put myself through it again, even though that sounds, because I've just said that, it wasn't negative at all. It wasn't a negative type of anxiety. It was an amazing experience. You know, Stuart was absolutely lovely as well, dead understanding, dead supportive. Everybody was as well. Paul was like a little beacon of hope. So, and I know it's cringy and whatnot, but everybody was so lovely. From the likes of you, Velvet, seeing you there, Ophelia B, like seeing familiar faces, Pebble Dash as well, and it was just lovely. I have to give a massive shout out to Bella B Campbell as well, who I shared the room with the night before, and I honestly could not sleep a wink, and she stayed up with me, and we chatted, and, you know, everything that you could imagine I thought was going to go wrong the next day, I was thinking was going to go wrong, and it didn't happen. But
there's so much to keep in hand on the day. There's so much that could go wrong. I mean, like, I've got so many questions to ask, but like, Paul, you'll know, because you had a couple of wardrobe malfunctions with some of your outfits.
Oh my God. I mean, the fact that I won the runway for National when it all went wrong, I think maybe, I don't know, the judges obviously saw what I was trying to do, or maybe it was how I then picked it up. But for those that didn't know, I was Freddie Mercury. I wanted to really, you know, do a nod to somebody that was an icon, definitely one of our first queer icons. I mean, you just need to look at some of his interviews. You know, he was just so unapologetic with how gay he was, and I just love that, and something that I've been on a journey myself to kind of get to that point. So yeah, so I wanted to make reference to him, and then I wanted a reveal, and it was a giant collar that was going to pop up saying "Protect Trans Kids." And I was so nervous. And I think backstage, I was building up that when I came out, I went a little bit hyper. And I'm totally blaming Monarchy for giving me Red Bull after our exam. And God knows how many black coffees. But as I was jumping up and down, I stood on my cape and it fell off. But, you know, I was able to pick it up and get the veil out that I wanted to. And the other Paul, who was in the competition, was so great when I went backstage and was having a bit of a diva moment. He said, just go back out now, you know, instead of going out with the flag, just go out and do what you wanted to do. So I was able to do it. But yeah, and then the other one was Beachwear. I was going to do a bit of a, again, I'm showing my age, again, a book fizz moment where I pulled my shorts off down to some lovely little Union Jack budgie smugglers. And again, they got stuck on my thigh. But I think everybody was there cheering. I don't think, again, it's not a beauty contest. I think people were kind of, you know, relating to things that go wrong, don't they? And you know, it is what it is.
I mean, it's like, it's Monarchy. You'll relate to this, but one of the best bits of advice I have for people doing drag is that the audience don't know what you're actually intending. They don't know that there's a reveal. They don't know that you're going to get a flag out. So if it goes wrong, then you just roll with it as like, oh, that was totally not going to be a thing anyway. You know, moving on.
Yeah, and I do feel like though with drag you can literally do anything and people will laugh, and I think that's what it was probably harder for the Mr. Gays. I know as well, Paul, you had a malfunction with your mustache, didn't you? I don't know if you went.
Yes, yeah.
And
a mustache malfunction.
Did you end? Well, weren't you that hot that it wouldn't stick to you?
It was melted, so the Freddie tash wouldn't stick on me because it was so bloody hot backstage. And then Bella was drawing on a bit of a mascara tash. And again, I was just completely sweating that off. So, but it's just so fast paced. It's just like, okay, it just got to get out there. It is what it is.
It really was. And, you know, getting changed in between as well. Like we were, if anyone has seen the photos, honestly, I was dripping like a knackered fridge. I was sweating everything off. And I think it was because it was so hot and we were stood for ages beforehand, weren't we? Like in our costumes before we went out. So by the time I was out, I was melting, honestly. But no, Paul, you pulled that off well, because I know that you had a couple of malfunctions. Like Kylie, if Kylie wasn't there dressing me, then I don't think I would have been out on that runway, because I was screaming at Kylie and Tony and clapping my hands, and like honestly I was like a mad woman, and they put me in all my outfits, thank God.
I genuinely love the fact that you have like two very famous drag queens, in my opinion, like Tony the Doll and Kylie Jenner, just helping you out put your outfits on.
Oh yeah, honestly, I can be a diva with Kylie as well, and you know, she if it wasn't the pageant day, then she would have probably slapped me across her face. But you know, they really did help me, and I was just shouting at Tony as well. I was like, no, it was Kylie shouting at Tony, and I was shouting at Kylie to shout at Tony because I didn't want to shout at Tony. So it was just it was hectic, but it worked and it was fun. And if you don't see anything, if the audience squint, then they cannot see any problems. Yes, but
well, to be fair, the sun was in a lot of people's eyes that day. But Tim, did you have nerves on the day? Because I've got to admit, you are a very stoic person, so I couldn't read whether you were nervous. You just kind of got on with everything. But like, were the nerves real for you? Or like, did you have any wardrobe malfunctions?
No, I did not have any mistakes with the costume. So I was wearing for my national costume a windmill backpack.
A full-on windmill on your back.
Yeah, so it was pretty heavy, but it worked. So I was very glad. And the nerves starts with the final. When they made the announcement, I was really nervous. You can see that on every video that was taken. But before, I was just after the long week, I was just like, let's go out here and get the runway done, and then we will hear the outcome.
Yeah, just get it over with. You've had the week from hell, so let's just get it done.
Yeah, but the last day was really fun, so I enjoyed it.
I mean, your national costume was kind of crazy. Like, you did have a full windmill on your back. Like, how did you come up with the idea for it? Was it just a natural connection?
No, I was thinking, what can I do for the Netherlands to represent it best? And I was thinking of the Dallas blue, so the white and blue porcelain, the plates. And then I was thinking, windmills, very popular in the Netherlands and for the tourists as well. So maybe we can do something with that. And then I was like, I couldn't do the outfit without tulips. So I included that as well. And then spoke with the designer and he put it all together and it worked out. So I was really glad.
How did you get the costume here?
So it was all detachable. So all the wings were detachable and it fits perfectly in the suitcase. And then I had to build it myself on Saturday.
Oh.
I love the idea, though, that you're just in the dorm room with the other contestants putting a windmill together. And they're just like, what is going on?
They were quite surprised, yeah.
Glenn, you were saying the other week that you were considering entering Mr. Gay Great Britain. Is that still something that you'd like to do?
I think so. I think I'd give it a go.
Yes, do it.
I think what's made me want to think about it a little bit more is because it's with it having more layers to it and having the charity side and things like that, which kind of makes me more intrigued and think, well, yeah, actually, because then you get to do some good deeds and put yourself out there a little bit more, get out your comfort zone. So it is definitely something.
I think that's a big thing because it's like a lot of the contestants, especially in Mr. Gay, like Great Britain, were like they were doing it for their own benefit, like to get out there. Like it was wonderful speaking to Stephen and George, because George especially like he's a very anxious person. He's a very introverted person, and doing this competition allowed him to sort of meet new people and step massively out of his comfort zone. And it's kind of amazing, like when I was chatting to him when we were at the town hall, Tim, and stuff about just he didn't raise the most money out of everyone, he didn't sort of do the best in the actual challenges and whatnot, but just being there made the competition worthwhile for him, and it was wonderful hearing about it.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. Working alongside George in the competition, his personal growth was amazing, and to see him go out there, on the day on the runways was amazing. I was like a bit of a proud dad, really, with him, and I think a lot of the other guys were, from someone who arrived at press day really shy and remained shy, and his sort of platform was he'd been terribly bullied. He's spoken about this himself. And, I just think it's amazing. Like he was out there, I've had a really rough time. Yeah, it's affected me, but I'm going to go out there and show them what I've got. And I think, yeah, he did amazing. So I think that's what's really great about the competition, that everybody comes with their own reason to enter.
Yeah, I mean, because it's the fact. I think the great thing is that he got really big cheers. Like it was just George coming out. He was just in his swimwear, and I loved his swimwear because it was literally what I would wear. Because I don't feel confident going out in a bathing suit or something, and he's literally just got the shorts on. He's just got a t-shirt on, and I was just like, I like this. This is
He's very down to earth, George. Very real. He's not. I think there was, in the pageant community, there's obviously people who play a lot of lip service. And I think with George, he was definitely what you see is what you get. And he was one of my favourites as well. I think and his nana and his mum came down. And I've actually still been messaging him. He was talking about his nail business and stuff like that. And I think it was just absolutely amazing. And the support he got off everybody as well. All the Mr. Gays was just really nice to see because, he was just absolutely lovely. Such a real and just it was refreshing to see that there was, just a everyday lad. He always cracked me up when he said Rotherham, South Yorkshire. Is it Rotherham, South Yorkshire? Is that right? South Yorkshire.
Yeah.
In every sentence, and I just thought he's bloody class because just dead like this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, I'm here, and it was really refreshing to see. What a lovely boy. My dad he's always dropped me off and taken me to shows and stuff like that, and being supportive, but my dad is my biggest fan, and he's always been supportive from day dot. When I was like 16 and I told him that I'd been doing drag in secret and whatnot, but he's never actually seen a show. But he came it was his birthday on the finale day, and not only was he obviously supporting me, he absolutely loved your national outfit. He thought it was so clever, and for my dad, who is quite a man's man, he just for him to be talking about gay men and talking about how clever you all were, and actually really enjoying it. It was really nice to hear that my dad had said that, and my mum wouldn't stop saying how much he enjoyed the day. So it was just, I think that's what it's about, isn't it? And it's about networking and meeting other people and improving yourself and people. And that's exactly what George did. Just putting himself out there. That was amazing.
I mean, what is it? You did miss a treat, Glenn. It was a really good day. And you had to go to a wedding, or it's something equally unimportant.
I know. I was stuck in a tent in Cumbria with it peeing down. It was. Yeah, I missed out. It's definitely something I had to try to get into And even if I didn't get in, I'll definitely be coming along next year to cheer people on. And to be honest, I've been completely naive to the competition, and I didn't realize how big it was. Like, I think probably about 8 months ago, I was making jokes like, yeah, we always see MX drag, but where's this advertised? How do we apply? And then actually, once you're in, it's like its own little world, really, because it's giant for everything that goes on. So
yeah, it does feel a little bit like a bubble, where it's the fact of, because people keep going like, oh, Velvet, you should enter, and then I'm just like, oh well, I will when I see a thing pop up about like entries, and then just nothing ever comes up until the finalists, and I'm just like, I'm following the wrong channels. I need to do something. But it's, although to be fair,
fine. Well, it's all right. I'm already going to talk to Stu Hatton for you, and tell him just to email you directly when the applications are out.
It'd be weird though. I don't know. It'd be weird if I entered, but I think if I did enter, I do it as an excuse to make loads of money for charity. That's the thing that I'd get excited about. That you just go, oh right, finally I have this cause I can get behind, and I have a reason to be doing all of this stuff. Like, is that how you found it, Monarchy and Paul? Where you just like, finally I can actually, I have a reason to do stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was a slow burner for me. I've kind of thought of myself as being political and got, my own views on things. And I think entering the competition and getting shortlisted, I was like, okay, I've got a bit of a voice here, which kind of grew, and I found a real passion for the activism. And, I know the previous winners have done great work, but for me, somebody again that I would look up to as a role model was last year's Mr. Gay Great Britain winner, David. I think he just really took the title and ran with it. And when I saw what he had done, I thought, okay, well, I think I can do this as well. So yeah, once I was in it, I was like, okay, yeah, let's go for it. And the charity, as I said, was the biggest part for me. But the other thing I really wanted to raise awareness for was just protecting trans kids, and means a lot to me because that's my job. That's what I do. And there's this awful, negative, uneducated narrative out there at the moment about trans kids and trans people in general. And I just thought, well, actually, yes, I'm cisgendered and I recognize my privilege. I'm not trans. I've never had gender identity issues, but I do work with these people. I see the struggles that they've had. And if I can sort of help get that voice out there, then I'll do it. So, and that's, now that I've won, that's kind of one of my aims now over the next year, is to try and push a bit more of a positive narrative and get some actual facts out there. So yeah, it kind of ignites a fire in you, I guess. So for both of you thinking of entering, I would recommend it fully. It was a real journey for me, and it really ignited something in me. And I know a lot of the other contestants would say the same. So yeah, do it.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about igniting a fire in each other, but like, Tim, you were already massively politically active before you started the competition, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been advocating about LGBTQI plus rights for a couple of years now, and I did a campaign for LGBTQI plus couples with the desire to have children. So I did that for almost 2 years, trying to drive change when it comes to surrogacy in the Netherlands, but also in Belgium, because it's not legally arranged, but also adoption. There are only a few countries where adoption is allowed with same-sex couples. So it's really important for me as well, because I have a partner and he already has 2 children, but a lot of friends surrounding me do have a child wish, but it's really hard for same-sex couples. And now for the mental health part, I started a campaign, Be Proud, Be Strong, Be Mentally Healthy, a couple of months ago. So as I said, bringing awareness, reducing stigma, foster empathy, and also promote resources is my goal for the upcoming year, to spread it throughout Europe. Hopefully I can manage it.
I didn't realize how different the laws were in different countries regarding surrogacy and adoption. My partner's talking about Spain, like how surrogacy isn't legal. And I was just like, what?
One of the craziest things about being there for Mr. Gay Europe was that part of their challenges, like on Tuesday, they had a lecture that they had to sit through, where it was basically, talking about the state of gay rights in different countries, and all the different contestants talked about the state of rights in their country. And I was really surprised because it's scary having people like Gabrielle and whatnot, like Gabrielle and Kevin just being like, oh yeah, we can't do these fundamental things that we in Britain like would take for granted. And then realizing that I would have assumed that things in the Netherlands were like top of the world practically. And then you're pointing out, Tim, like just that there's so much more to do there.
Yeah, especially for trans and intersex people in the Netherlands, because once we were in the first place of the ILJ ranking, Rainbow Index, but now we're in 14th place because we're not adapting new laws, arranging the same rights as straight people.
Wasn't Netherlands like, didn't they have same-sex marriage legalized a lot earlier than Britain?
Yeah, it was actually the first country in 2001, but yeah, a lot can change or not change.
I think that was it. It was what Stephen from Mr. Gay Island was pointing out, was just how much progress was made in a short time, and then they just stopped. They just didn't do anything, and now they're kind of lagging behind a little bit. And I think a lot of countries got that, where they basically, they kind of went, oh yeah, we're fine for gay rights now. And then you're like, well, actually, like, even in Britain, like, I don't know how you feel, Monarchy and Paul, but like, how a lot of people think that we're slipping behind in terms of gay rights in Britain.
No, I massively agree. I think being on the club scene in Teesside, I grew up in the middle of nowhere in a farm type area, like a very countryside area, so it was very conservative where I lived, and obviously I got picked on in school and stuff like that. But I think it's 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back, because people think, you know, that trans kids are the problem, for example, and they're really not. If you are thinking that there are children who are not harming anybody in any way, they're literally what somebody does with their life and it's not harming you, and you making an issue with that, then you need to take a long look in the mirror and realize that maybe you are the problem. You know, if you're constantly pushing, if you think people are pushing their agendas on you for the things that they want to do to themselves, and you think that's them pushing that on you and they're pushing their ideologies on you, then maybe, darling, take a look in the mirror. But people say it's in America though, it's not in England, it's everywhere. I think we are going backwards, but I think because we're more visible now, it's more noticeable to people, so people are trying to push us more backwards, you know, because people are more unapologetic about who they are. I think it was in a case of when I first started coming out in drag and whatnot 4 years ago, it was more, we see you, you're there, we don't accept you, but we're not going to bother you. But now we're being more visible and saying we're not going anywhere, and we want these spaces and we want the same rights. That's when people are like, oh, right, now you're irritating us.
Yeah.
We tolerated you before, but now we're not going to tolerate you at all.
Something I found is that a lot of, you know, older gays are getting more conservative, and it seems a bit odd, you know, where it's this idea of like, because I've had it a couple of times where I've done like a sort of very political, like fuck the Tories type sort of performance or number, and then I've had a gay person come up to me being like, oh, well, you know, they're doing their best or something, and you're like, hang on, you know, like how on earth can you be gay and support like these kind of people? And I think, do you reckon there's a level of apathy, like, guys, where there's, you know, people are like, oh, well, I'm fine, I'm able to do all of the things I want to do, so let's just not rock the boat at all and just don't want to think about the people that aren't them.
Sorry, Paul, carry on, because you know more about that than I do.
Oh, no, not at all. I think as somebody 40 plus and growing up during Section 28, I recognise, you know, how far we've come. You know, look, I'm married, to my husband, I've got 2 boys through adoption. You know, I'm fairly lucky. I go out and live my authentic life. I'm completely out, open, as camp as I want to be. So I recognise we've come a long way, but I agree. I think, you know, there's parts that are going backwards, and unfortunately, you know, the trans community are taking the butt of all this, and you know, we need to stand together as a community. And you know, this government and the mainstream media pushing this narrative about the trans community being predators, you know, and children don't know what they're doing. But yet, you know, I would push on anybody. Well, when did you know you were straight? When did you know you were cisgendered? You know, why didn't you need time to think about that? You know, why is that being taken away from these people? And look, I mean, 0.5% of the population are trans, gender diverse. So tiny amount of our country. But yet the media articles, I don't know what the percentage is now, but make up a huge part, and they're predominantly negative. So it's really difficult to witness somebody that, you know, works with trans people, and I've got a lot of trans friends, and I think that's one of the things that we need to stick together as a community and not forget, you know, the rights that were afforded to us thanks to our, you know, trans brothers and sisters that were out there at Stonewall and long before that, you know, fighting for the whole community as a whole. And I think we need now to stand behind the queer community and the trans community to sort of push their rights forward.
I wanted to ask, though, now that the competition's done, because I think a big aspect of why you three won was because the judges were very able to see that you would do something with the win, that you were going to go out and reach, and that you'd put this extra effort in. Because I think with a lot of contestants, they were like in the competition and they liked the idea of the competition, but then you couldn't really imagine them getting in front of people to speak, or being, you know, bringing politics in, or, you know, making this a big part of their life. I mean, like, Tim, you were talking before about like how you've already done all of this work. You've already set up charities. You've already put you've already put yourself out there to political leaders. Does it feel like the same thing, or does it feel like it's on a bigger scale now for you, Tim?
I think it's on a bigger scale. I get a bigger platform to get things done, hopefully, and I'm busy preparing a content strategy to actually approach media, approach politics, and trying to get things done.
I mean, has it kind of hit you, Paul and Monarchy, you know, that you are now an ambassador in your particular field?
Paul, do you want to go first, chick? Because I'm a gobby cow.
I don't mind. The pressure. I do. If I'm completely honest, I do feel the pressure, and I do feel I've got big shoes to step in from last year's winner, David. But I'm ready to take on the challenge. And I think, you know, I'm gobby as well, Monarchy. I think I can get out there and probably say some things because I know some things, and I'm really passionate about it. But I do feel the pressure, and similar to Tim, I'm busy sort of thinking about what I can do over the next year. And I've contacted Stonewall, Manchester Pride, London Pride about how I can use this title, because it's a lovely title to have, and I got a lovely trophy, and I had a lovely photo shoot and everything afterwards. But I would like to put my stamp on it. So similar to when David kind of handed it over to me, I'd really like to be in that position next year that I'm handing something over. But in all honesty, you know, I'm a nurse, I'm a dad, this is what I am, and you know, it's not my skill set, but I'm willing to give it a go, and I do feel the pressure. So I'm sort of asking for any help with any charities, and if they want me to come on board and use this title, then I'm more than happy to do so.
I mean, I think both of you are very good representatives of the community to the wider world. Like you were saying, Monarchy, the idea of the quieter voice sometimes speaks loudest, where it's the fact of like, Paul, whenever you get up in front of people, you're basically like, hey, look, I'm a demonstration that gay marriage works. I'm a demonstration that gays can be like good parents because you have two wonderful sons, you know. And then Monarchy, you're a wonderful demonstration that you can come from like a working class background and, you know, relate to people on that level and still be queer, still be a drag queen, still be fabulous.
Well, it actually might surprise you, Velvet, but I'm not actually from a working class background. Teesside is a working class area, but I was brought up very conservatively in the sense of it was in the middle of nowhere, where I was from. But all the people
you mean in
who
a
are
bin?
No,
just found in a bin somewhere.
Are you from the posh end of Teesside that voted Tory?
No, I'm actually not. What I'm saying is that the voices who I've been brought up by in the drag world have all been from very working class northeast, you know, towns, and it is the working class queer voices that have really inspired me and looked after me. And I think that I came on the gay scene in Middlesbrough. I'd never really been outside of the small village I was from. And I was 15, sneaking at nightclubs, meeting these incredible divas, and then going to school on a Monday. You know, so I'd never really had much interactions or ever seen stuff like that. And then that was what really inspired me to think these people, you know, have massive voices that need to be heard. And I think it was only the other day that me and Penetration were flyering for Middlesbrough Pride in Teesside, and I turned around to Penny and I said, isn't it fab how we haven't had anyone say anything to us all day? You know, we've, even though that's a sad thing to say, we've not had anybody say anything to us all day. We've not had any backlash. And then I walk into a pub venue in the town and was told that they don't allow people like us in there. They don't want to support Pride, because we were just flying for the local Pride, where it's not that type of establishment. They didn't use it in that word. They weren't very educated. But they were calling us not very nice words, beginning with T. And other things like that. And, you know, it just really struck a nerve with me to think that after we'd had such a pleasant day and a pleasant interaction from a town mayor that does get a lot of stick. You know, Middlesbrough it's not Hollywood, it's not the shiniest place, it's not whatever, it's not the most accepting place, but it has a community, and it has a really thriving community of really intelligent people. And I think it's massively overlooked. And that was why I set up my event Lipstick, was because when the main gay bar for a club Tiny sadly had to close the doors because of things after COVID and whatnot, and struggling to pay rent, me and my friend, black lesbian woman called Leah, I love her with all my heart. She drives me insane, but she is one of my best friends in the whole wide world. Always said the lack of, even though there is a gay scene in Middlesbrough, it doesn't seem to attract a lot of the gay people in Middlesbrough, you know, the trans community, the people of colour, non-binary people. It all seemed to be very white, cisgender males in their 30s who thought, yes, because we have acceptance, then that's all that really matters, and we don't really care about anybody else. And that's when we decided to set up Lipstick, which is where my politics started to come back in tune, of wanting to, you know, give people voices and give people platforms to perform in, and, you know, help, you know, young little gays who were running around have a little home, because that's what the gay scene, even though I shouldn't have been sneaking out on it when I was younger, it is what gave me a home and what gave me visibility and helped me meet all these incredible people.
So, Paul, obviously you've adopted with your husband, and what's the journey been like with that, and finding safe spaces and communities with other same-sex parents?
Well, my boys now are 12 and 11, and we adopted 11 years ago. So in the most part, I haven't experienced any direct homophobia. You know, you get the very much patronizing, oh, I think you're great, and, you know, everyone means well when they do that. But it's like, look, we just want to be parents. You know, there's 1 in 6 adoptions are to same-sex parents now, which is great. And there's lots of children in care systems that need homes. So we adopted the boys, and yeah, I mean, there's been various things low key, you know, when you're filling in paperwork, it's like put the mum's name, the dad's name, lots of confusion as to, you know, I'll go pick the boys up from nursery the first day, and then my husband goes the next day, and they're like, okay, what's going on here? That
I never
kind
thought
of
about that.
But that's just about, you know, awareness and education. So I think in the most part, we've been lucky. You know, both my boys are now in high school, and I'm aware that, unfortunately, it's just really sad that still, because it was around when I was in school, which was only a couple of years ago, you know, where people are called gay for, you know, in a negative way. Oh, that's so gay. And that still happens now. So, you know, there's still work to do. But in the most part, you know, our adoption journey has been free from homophobia. And I'm sure there's probably lots of other stories out there, and maybe we're the lucky ones. But yeah, in the most part, it's been absolutely fine. And I'm a staunch supporter of same-sex parents. Lots of research has come out now about same-sex adoption, because a lot of our kids are adults, young adults now, and their outcomes are fantastic. They're doing great, and there's some small research studies out there that show that. So not that I need to be told that, because look, my life is very boring. I've got 2 boys that can be little shits at times. There's nothing, I'm not romanticizing about it. Me being a dad is no different to anybody else being a dad. Yes, it's wonderful and shiny and gorgeous, but there is times where it's, you know, you've got moody kids and you're dealing with kids that don't want to do their homework and all that kind of shit as well. But, you know, so, you know, it's just the same as anybody else, you know, and that's how it should be. So I'm pleased it is.
Yeah, no, one of the things I've always been like, you know, I've had conversations with my partner about things like that. One of the things I always worry about is managing the social media side of things as well, because like you get some adoptions where it's like put nothing on social media, but then you're very open with your journey and everything. Is that something that comes with time, or
it has come with time, and it's come with conversations with the boys and conversations as a family as to what's out there. And certainly I didn't share as much, and you've got to be very careful, and I think it's very much down to individual circumstances to what the background is, and there can be some times where it could be quite dangerous to share information about children. So I get that, and some parents have to be quite secretive. For us, it's fine, and it's something that we've agreed on, with me trying to have it as a platform to push, like, look, we are out there, and we're just normal, we're just typical. This is not, and if we can do it, then you should go and do it. Anybody that wants to go and do it, there's, just go and give some of these kids homes. It's a great thing, and it's probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
Carrying on the conversation, like, Tim, you're a parent as well, because your boyfriend has kids from a previous relationship. But I wanted to ask, like, what for both of you, Paul and Tim, like, what are the reactions that your kids have gotten at things like school, knowing, with other kids knowing they've got two dads and stuff like that, and other parents? Like, has there been any negativity or whatnot?
That's quite interesting, because I have a boy and a girl, and for the girl it was all 100% good and clear, and all the girlfriends loved that she had a gay dad and a partner. And for the boy, it was, at the beginning, was a little bit challenging, because he was used to seeing his dad with a woman, and for his friends, but then they accepted almost straight away, so it was all good eventually.
That's it. How about you, Paul?
Yeah, I think because, again, it's what society puts onto children as we become adults, isn't it? And I think so for my children who've been, their friends have been brought up by seeing my boys with two dads, it's never been a problem. I always remember it was really cute a couple of years ago. One of my boys' friends came round, and as they walked past one of our wedding pictures, went, "Oh, I wish I had two dads. It's so cool." Which was just, just straight out of a kid's mouth, before society or anything else has put anything on them. So, yeah, I think, look, I think we've probably been fairly lucky, and I've now got a 12-year-old who's, moody adolescent, who may be experiencing things at school that he's not telling us. I'm not sure that's something that we'll navigate over the next few years of high school. I'm not naive to think that, he may get some comments, and we've hopefully educated both the boys on how to deal with that and to talk to us. But so far, no, we've not had any real obstacles.
I think it's really interesting, especially I'm an ex-teacher, and in one of the classes where I taught one of a village school near me, and in one of the classes we had actually some same-sex parents. There was little go-to mums, and at one point actually I was the one who made the big push to get diversity role models involved with the school. So around Pride Week, we used to bring them in. But then it was a bit bizarre, because then we had the flip side of having to go through all the lessons with diversity role models of what to cover. But then at the end of one of their PowerPoints, it was, so how would you feel if a kid in your class had two parents of the same gender, or so it was phrased along them lines. And then we're like, yeah, we need to change that, because there's a kid who actually does, so none of these kids will know the difference. And I think it's one of them things where when the kids it's just introduced in the class, get on with it, and that's all they've known, they're never going to know any different. And I think it does just go to show, I think homophobia is taught.
Yeah.
Yeah, massively.
I definitely think it's something, because kids don't care. Like, it's all the drama, the made up drama about drag queen story time and drag queens with kids and stuff. And it's all utter bollocks, because every time I've done something like that where you're reading to kids, they're just fascinated by the costumes. In my case, they're just wondering why this fabulous bald man is reading them a story, and kids really don't mind. And it's only later that they start checking themselves and they start being like, oh, let's think too much about this, or is this right, is this wrong? It's a shame that society does that, and that we still need to move past it.
Yeah, I completely agree, Velvet. That a lot of the people who say we are the villains are actually the ones who are projecting these villainous ideas onto us and then creating issues themselves,
Oh, girl, Before we finish, I just want to ask you a bit more about the other contestants in the competition, like your competition, as it were. So I just want to ask each of you, like, who you felt was your biggest threat and who you think could have also, like, would have also deserved to win. How about you, Paul?
Ooh, girl. You know, I think all the guys, it was interesting. I don't know how we were shortlisted or what happened, but all of us were very different and came with a different reason. I think for me, who I thought could do the most with the competition, there was a couple. There was the other Paul, and I really liked what he wanted to do in supporting the queer community and the arts. I think that's something that's quite small and niche, but not really looked into. Mm-hmm. But I think the big competition was Safe, I think, with his sort of mental health advocate platform. And for me, he was the one to beat always. And I know he did great work with his charity. So it was probably no surprise that he came second. You know, it was no surprise to me at all. He was definitely the one that I clocked at the press day and told him, and he told me the same, you know, that we were sort of looking at each other and we were sort of jesting with each other on the day, saying, bring it to the runway. So yeah, it was no surprise that he came second, and if I hadn't have got it, he would have been a worthy winner as well, definitely.
Yeah, no, it's Safe. Safe was amazing. Like, Safe was very much lit up the room when he went in, and you were like, he has such a wonderful presence, and he's such a nice guy. How about you, Tim? Because obviously I got to know all of you very well. So
yeah, I think David from Great Britain was my biggest opponent, as they say, because he's like this entertainer with a great mission. He's very kind and supportive. So, and I slept also with him in the room, and we had a lot of discussions about the same things and what we were fighting for. So I think he would have been a worthy winner as well.
How about you, Monarchy? I know you've mentioned Bella B. Campbell earlier. Who do you think was your biggest competition?
So, yeah, I mentioned Bella and how supportive she was of me throughout. But I think for me personally, it was definitely Mimi. And I think, like Paul's just said about Safe, from the press day, I noticed her straight away. She's obviously a massive personality. She's very vocal. She knows what she wants, and she is determined to get it. She was an inspiration for me for the beginning of the competition, and I actually knew her previously as well from Instagram. She had taught me a dance class as well years and years before when she came down to Middlesbrough. So it was quite a funny meeting her again, because it was a funny time when we first met. It was something that we laugh about. So yeah, and I think Mimi would have been absolutely worthy. You know, she was the first POC contestant for MX Drag Great Britain, and I think she was she's very political, you know, and Mimi definitely from the outset portrays, you know, wears her politics on her sleeve, and she her drag is very new wave, you know, very non-binary and very gender bendy, and, you know, plays with gender norms, and, you know, it doesn't always have to be so unlike herself out of drag to be drag, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, that's the joy of drag. There's no rules to it.
Yeah,
it's the idea of just keep breaking boundaries. Well, no, thank you so much, all three of you, for coming along for this. Now, obviously, because there's three of you and Stu isn't here, we haven't had time to do a game. So I'm declaring now that usually on this podcast, we have a game where we ask questions and whatnot. We're not going to do that this time. We're just going to give all three of you a gold Stu Peter badge, which we will post you out sometime in the future. Which you can have with pride for turning up on this bloody podcast.
Thank you so much.
But that's probably the easiest win you've had all year, actually.
Definitely.
Nice.
Is there anything, I'll go to each of you in turn, is there anything that you'd like to promote or say before we finish? I'll start with you, Paul.
I would just want to say, watch this space. I'm going to run with this title, and hopefully, as I'm handing over the crown next year, I'll be doing the community proud.
And where can people catch you, Paul?
So mostly it's Instagram, which is Paul_CC123. So most of everything that I'm doing is on there, along with a few little thirsty shots.
How about you, Monarchy?
I would just like to say to everybody to believe in yourself. always believe in yourself, and there is a world of acceptance round the corner. When life throws you down, put on your biggest heel and your biggest lash and strut out into the world and let everybody know that you are not going anywhere. And I'm here, there and everywhere. I'm like a bad smell or an STD, so I'll be getting everywhere. Keep your eyes peeled because you'll see me somewhere or another. Stick around to see the other layers to me rather than just me mouth.
That's it. The wonderful onion that is Monarchy.
Yes.
And how about you, Tim?
So I will work very hard to fulfill this big title, and you can follow my journey as well on my social media, but also the social media of Mr. Gay Europe.
Amazing. No, thank you so much, all three of you. Glenn, is there anything that you'd like to promote or say?
Ooh, trying to think. Oh, well, shout out to Friends of Dorothy. They sent us some delightful things to try out from their supplements range.
Yeah.
So a big shout out to them. Look out, because we are hoping to be hitting DragCon. That's going to be at RuPaul's DragCon. That's going to be at the Excel Centre in London. I believe that's the 13th and 14th of January.
Is it? Because remember this year when it was really, really early and we were like, oh,
yeah,
barely went back to work.
It's a little bit later this month, which I think, I'm more likely to be skint, but oh well.
That's it. You'll be even poorer by the time it hits. Yeah, no, wonderful. And as for myself, you can catch me at thevelvetsnatch.com if I ever bloody update it, and also my Instagram, The Velvet Snatch. But yes, thank you so much everyone for tuning in. I suggest that you follow all three of our wonderful guests today, because it's been so wonderful and special getting to know them over the course of the respective Mr. Gay MX Drag competitions this year. And we will speak to you on the next episode of GURL.
Oh, GURL.
That was really good, actually. I'm out of a job. Goodbye. Oh, girl.